Hello, I'm Tyler Christian, Marion County Engineer, and today I'll be discussing snow removal and snow removal operations within Marion County, starting with how the standards of practice through our county ordinance and how, as a department, we manage the paved road system and also the gravel road system, and how operations may vary during different types of snow events or winter weather. So first, Chapter 22 of the county ordinance is the snow and ice clearance ordinance. And overall, I would say our road department exceeds the minimum requirements established by the ordinance. So the ordinance will say things like initial operations will get the traffic flowing to one lane at least. And most times we're looking at opening the roads up to 2 lanes as quick as possible. And not revisiting on the second or third day like the ordinance may state. So the level of service that we try to provide is, snow removal in the initial pass, getting the initial depth of snow, whether that's 4 or 6 inches off the roadway. It is not to make the road dry pavement. We do our best to accomplish that, but if we can accommodate wheel tracks that are either wet or dry, we may suspend operations and revisit it during normal work hours. Typically, we operate per the ordinance between 4 a.m. and 8 p.m. So for a couple of reasons. One, we don't have the staff to run overnight, such as the Iowa DOT, who runs 24/7 with multiple crews and multiple shifts. We do not have the budget capacity for that or the staffing to do that. So our guys may work a 16-hour day, but we do allow them time to rest and resume work at 4 a.m. So typical overnight snow, late afternoon or overnight snow, we will start running the trucks on the paved roads at 4 a.m. and work generally until we believe that we can get traffic free flowing. May not be a dry pavement condition, as I stated earlier, but it will get the majority of traffic free flowing, and so we can get commuters, school buses, and whatnot through. A common question that we get, whether it be on gravel or paved roads, is how do we handle mailboxes that have been hit? We get this question a lot, actually. So if the mailbox has been hit by snow coming off the plow, we do not replace that mailbox. If the mailbox or post is hit directly by a plow or a truck backing into it, we will replace it in kind with available mailboxes at the time. So if it's a metal mailbox, we may replace it with metal on a metal post or a wood post. If it's plastic, we'll try to find something similar. If it's a very specialized type of mailbox, we will not replace that, such as a fish or something else. Oftentimes there are mailboxes that are considered obstructions, such as a brick or stone post mounted. That is actually considered an obstruction in the right-of-way, and we will not replace that at all. We will encourage you to find some other type of structure to mount the mailbox on, because Iowa code states that is an obstruction in the right-of-way and is not crash-worthy. So the clearance of snow, as the ordinance states, is what is reasonable and practical. So generally, if we have that overnight snow and go out at 4 a.m. on the paved roads, we are plowing initially. It typically takes the trucks about 2 hours to get over their route once. And what we would like to do, if the snow has stopped falling, we will plow what we call the center line first and then the edge line. So we'll make 2 passes in each lane of traffic before we start applying material, which would be salt and sand. We do not currently run any brine, and I'll talk about that a little bit later. So we like to get the majority of the snow off the road, the center line and edge line, before applying any material. There are cases and areas where we will apply material on the first pass in a snow event. So dangerous curves, dangerous hills, intersections, approaching a stop sign, we will apply material right away on the center line pass. That goes that also goes for snows that are continuing. So if we've started plowing and the snow is still falling, we will only address those trouble spots initially with the de-icing materials. Ice storms we handle a little bit differently. We most likely, if wait until the ice is done accumulating and then apply material. It doesn't do a lot of good to put material down during this ice event, although we will in those trouble spots. So if we have an overnight ice storm at 4 a.m., we go out and we'll immediately start applying material. Some of the limitations of our material on the paved roads would be the freezing point at which salt does not become effective anymore, the rock salt. So anything around 10 to 15 degrees, we start seeing the salt become ineffective. And a lot of time, there are some additional bio and chemical additives that we can put into our rock salt that help lower that freezing point. We do not currently use those regularly. We have used them in the past, but we find what we typically do to be fairly effective and definitely more budget friendly. So once the temperatures start to drop below 10 degrees, we stop applying material, except at maybe intersections. So because we do have sand in our mixture, we can get some of that abrasive material out there to help folks stop. But what we find is in cold weather, evaporation is usually our friend. We don't want to initiate any freeze, thaw, and refreeze action. We want the cold temperatures to evaporate the snow or ice from the road surface. And also the pavement temperature starts to drop fairly rapidly at lower temperatures. And what we find is the snow actually pops off the pavement easier if we don't initiate any of that thawing and refreezing. So wind is another big factor. There are times, even in curves and hills, that we will not apply that we will not apply salt and sand mixture because, believe it or not, that fraction of an inch sticking up off the pavement will start to accumulate blowing snow. If you've ever seen blowing snow, it's right at the surface on the roadway, and that material may help the snow accumulate. Depending on temperature, we may or may not apply in those types of conditions. The material can cause it to accumulate and then freeze as temperatures start to fall. So if the temperature is rising, we may continue applying. If it's falling, we likely will not in a windy situation. On the gravel roads, we typically do not go out on the gravel roads until we have about 3 to 4 inches of accumulation. That's because generally, the gravel surface has imperfections and isn't a perfect shape like the paved roads. So, with 2 inches or less, there's really nothing for us to push off there. Gravel roads, they take a little bit longer to get through the route. So unlike the trucks, it take a couple hours to make a round. The motor graders are looking at about 70 road miles, so 140 miles lane miles, and it takes them generally 15 to 20 hours depending on the type of storm to get across their route. So in that typical overnight storm, we'll start at 4 a.m., run 16 hours that first day, and a lot of times we'll have about 2 to 4 hours the following day to wrap up. And our operations work pretty well because that first day we're just trying to get things opened up, and then the second day usually we'll have 90 to 100% of the roads opened up before school and work commuter time on that second day. So things vary. How dry and powdery the snow is, how wet the snow is, if the gravel roads are frozen beneath or not. A soft road takes a lot longer for us to get over because we don't want to gouge and rip up a bunch of rock as we go. Powdery snows we can move a lot quicker, almost double the speed with the motor grader. And then drifting obviously is a factor. Heavy winds and large amounts of snow, we're running different types of equipment. And it may take multiple passes even to get through one drift to make it one lane. So What we encourage drivers to do on the gravel roads is just be aware that the initial pass may be 1 lane. Typically, we don't wait more than a couple days to reopen those to 2 lanes, but as our ordinance states, we do encourage you to reduce your speed in any winter driving condition by 25 miles per hour or more. If you do see 1 lane situations on the gravel roads or even on a paved road where it's drifting, I think our ordinance states that you need to reduce to 10 to 25 miles per hour as you approach those areas, in case you do meet oncoming traffic. So paying attention to the forecast, listening to your local media is the best thing I can suggest, because we try to pass along our operations and the road conditions to the local media sources, and then we try to get that out via social medias at the county and to the radio and newspapers as quick as possible.